Hello, everybody. Welcome and welcome back to some of you. You are tuned into Marianne Live. Some of you are with us because we are streaming live. That's right. You can go to mariannelive.com and actually watch the program. Isn't that so much fun? For those of you who like the visual aid, and the rest of you who might be driving around or wherever you find yourself during this day, evening, or night, because our program broadcasts all over the world. Welcome to you as well. And, you know, I always say it because it's true. It seems like a universal truth, but I haven't been able to prove this. But great relationships begin within. I didn't say only, always, or ever. It's a good place to start, turning our attention inwards. And I would invite you to take an audible breath. Join me, won't you? Turning your attention inwards. It's just a moment of your time to give yourself the gift of your own attention. Yet it seems like we forget to do it. I know our guest today, Jennifer Loudon, does it. In the morning, she does yoga. She's written a new book called The Life Organizer, and she likes to breathe in and out. We're going to be introducing her this hour. She's going to be joining us to talk about how to organize life, which makes you want to breathe, doesn't it? Because we hold our breath oftentimes, or we're racing around. So go ahead. Listen to your sound. How do you sound right now? Where is your breath in your body? Is it in your belly? Is it up in your chest? Maybe in your throat? Maybe you can't feel it at all, or maybe that's not a conversation you're ready to have right now. You want to move on to the gratitude list. Well, wherever you find yourself, go ahead and notice that your breath is a gift, and it really does offer us a moment to connect into that precious reality that life is a gift in this moment, and breath is what connects us to it. I love it. I love it. All right, so we're going to get some gratitude on here on Marianne Live, and I love to start the program breathing and getting grateful. And I also I say that it bugs me, but it doesn't always bug me. I think that it's great that gratitude has become a cliche. That means it's catching on for all of us, right? We're starting to learn how to orient ourselves or reorient ourselves to that portal that connects us to our hearts. And gratitude often does that. It softens things up, regardless of what we're feeling in the day. And boy, a lot of us have a lot of stuff going on. I'll give a shout out to a bunch of you folks on our list, but I know you've got a list as well. Things that don't feel like you are grateful for that, this, and the other thing, right? But let's start with gratitude before we get to the other stuff. Let's start with noticing, how did you come to do what you're doing today? I'm sure it wasn't by yourself. For example, what are you wearing? I don't want to know if you're naked. Do not send me an email and tell me that you're a nudist. I mean, I think that's really super, but that's not the point. And if you are, you probably washed your hair or dried yourself off with a towel or are sitting on something. Who made that possible for you to do that thing that you are doing, or being, where you are being, how you are being? Our gratitude lists are longer than we think. Go ahead and go down yours while I go down mine. The folks who make this program possible. We've got a great team here at Marianne Live that I love to start with. Linda McKenzie and Jay Cruz out at HealthyLife.net Radio, who have had the brilliant idea and the back-breaking labor of love, bringing you positive talk radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you like this program, check them out. They have many programs all day long for you. Putting only good things in your mind, I like to say. That's one of my 7 essential truths. Not an easy thing to do, but you can do it here. Also, we want to say thank you to Anila Manning, and big shout out to Anila. She is what I call my third eye, and if I were an octopus, she'd be 6 of my arms as well. Patrick, you know who you are, out of Brain Blaze. Patrick Yor is our director, and one of my producers is actually acting like an octopus in the background because she loves that and she knows it's true. Patrick Yor out at Brain Blaze, who is our producer and director for this program, and so many more of you who make it possible for us to do what we do, including the National Action Organization, committed to changing the way our culture values each other. 100% of the proceeds goes to programs just like this, so you can hear us. The Avon Breast Cancer Foundation.org and the Open Secret Bookstore .org if you're online and are interested. And throughout the program, I'm going to talk a little bit about horses. And you're thinking, why? Why are you going to do that, Marianne? Well, because I want you to know that for the last 4 years, I've been working with horses, and I'm really excited to be bringing that work out in the world, to be working in partnership with horses. And I'll put up a picture when we go to break and show you some of what we're going to be doing. And also, we're going to give away a couple of books on the air. So let us know the answer to a couple of my questions. You've got to stay tuned for that, and we will be giving you some books that will actually make a difference in your life. One of them is The Life Organizer by Jennifer Louden, A Woman's Guide to a Mindful Year, as well as Refeathering the Empty Nest. I know this time of year there's a lot of folks going through the empty nest thing, or just the nest thing. It might not be feeling empty, but there is a nest and something has changed with the nest, and we'll talk about that as well. Okay, guys, so we're grateful, we're breathing, and let's give a shout out now to the folks that are having a rough time. I'm going to actually give a shout out to my husband, who is never ill, never sick, never, and he's watching the program, and we're sending you lots of love and kisses to you and a lot of folks in our community here in Northern California who are struggling. You know who you are. The big divine Miss M, we want to send you love, and to Jerome, and yeah, who are the people on your list? Send them love right now. Go ahead, do it. Feel it in your body. Send it out. It's real. There's a grid. All you have to do is, with intention and consciousness, think about that person, conjure them up in front of you, their energy, and send them love. It actually works. Oddly, the phone might ring, right? You have that, you know, when you're thinking about somebody, the phone rings, or you get an email or whatever. That's right. We are all connected. Don't pretend we aren't. It's to your advantage to drop in and connect that way. So lots of love to folks who are struggling, finding it hard to find things to be grateful about. Okay. Yes, that was a mouthful. That was long but necessary. We want to start out right. We want to start awake and in an authentic place. And Jennifer Louden knows a lot about that. She's going to be with us this hour. She's written a book, The Life Organizer, and she reminds us, look, there's a lot of books out there on time management and how to organize your life. But this one's kind of a spiral. It's for women, right? It's a woman's guide to a mindful year. We do things that aren't necessarily linear, that many of, well, the opposite sex, if we can go there, you scratch your head and wonder what we're doing. The truth is, we don't always know, but it always sort of turned out okay, doesn't it? And Jennifer has written a book that really supports the way women approach life, the way women must be in relationship to life, because we have so many things that we're dealing with. I'm not saying you guys don't. You do. You absolutely do. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the feminine inside you. How about that? You get to read this book too. I know you have the divine feminine in there. Well, let me tell you, most of us are juggling multiple schedules regardless of who we are. Full-time jobs, meal planning, fitness, spirituality, shopping, dinner parties, yoga, soccer, etc., etc. And our lives are so full of commitments that we don't find the time to focus on our dreams and desires. That seems like an indulgence. However, when best-selling author Jennifer Louden created an intuitive planner for herself and later shared it with others through her workshops, the results and achievements were amazing, so much so that she decided to write The Life Organizer, A Woman's Guide to a Mindful Year, which is what we're going to be talking about this hour. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest. She's an author, obviously. I've got this beautiful book in front of me. I'll be holding it up here. It's gorgeous, and it's got such happy colors. And it's one of those great books, by the way. I love the type of book that you can just pick up and open, and there's something for you. Which, by the way, she invites you to have a book or a relationship like that with her book. But this personal growth pioneer who helped launch the self-care movement with her first book, The Woman's Comfort Book. I know a lot of you have that book on your shelves. She's written 4 additional books on well-being and whole living that have inspired women all over the world, and she's joining us today. By the way, she's even sat on Oprah's couch. Yes, she has. She and Oprah. We're going to have her talk about that today. Hey, Jennifer, we know you're there. We're so happy you're with us today. Welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure to be here. That was a really wonderful introduction and really wonderful to send love to my daughter at college. And I was really feeling the emptiness today. It's the last day of school here on our island. And so I was driving home from yoga earlier before the call, and the kids are out with water guns hitting each other on the sidewalks, and it's so sweet, but, it's also, my daughter's at college, my stepson's almost out of high school, and so we're feeling of change, so
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. I mean, this is what you live for, right?
It is what you live for, but it's also, I found that I'll be 52 at the end of the year. So
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a very different time, and I'm finding this transition of the last few years to have a tremendous amount of sorrow. It's not bad, but it's tender so much of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I'll tell you, when people turn on the program, one of the things that we are devoted to, and I know you are in your path, is to what is real. There is so much of not that. There is so much of the end of the culture where we had to put on a happy face, right? Where we had to suck it up, where we had to present. And, as a person who belongs part of a society, some of that's a necessary survival skill. But, boy, it's gotten to the extreme. And I think people tuning in here, and I know you find this, Jennifer, when you're out there teaching, they're really looking for what's real, something they can feel in their heart, and something that they can walk away with and feel plussed by versus slimed by or, jealous, empty, or any of that. So, right, they're looking to fill up with what's real. Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's what your book is filled with. Well, let's back up before we move forward too deeply into the book, because I want to read some stories and point out some really great elements of the book that there's so much. It's so rich. But let's back up and talk a little bit about how the truth is the average person in the United States spends more time at the gym, watching television, or talking about money, or talking about what's wrong with their life than they do on their dreams and their desires. Isn't that right?
Wow. I find that just like, I don't know what the studies are behind that. I totally believe you.
Yeah, I just read the studies, right. It is an online college, the top 10 online college study in 2013. Put those numbers together. Pretty crazy.
I know why.
Why?
Because to listen to your dreams and desires is to be incredibly vulnerable. Mm. Because you are not going to create that dream or desire exactly the way you imagine it. It's going to change and grow and diminish and mainly change in the doing, and you're going to change. And that's the point. But we live in a time, and sign me up, I'm totally falling into this camp where I want to get things done.
Yeah.
And I want to know it's going to work. We're addicted to doing and to certainty, and that makes us really scared of the messy process of creation. And so we opt for, I was talking to a client the other day who said, yeah, it's much easier to leave my office and go do the dishes.
Yeah, right.
And I said, yeah, I love that. I love to get up from my writing and go empty the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Because it's known.
It's transactional, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We're a culture addicted to transactions.
And email and social media are conditioning our brains. I mean, there's not a lot of research on this yet, but the signs are pointing towards it to be even more oriented towards getting things done, because we're getting, I think, more and more addicted. We may find it to dopamine.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
those dopaminergic pathways are so intense, and for any of you interested in that neuropsychology, there are so many studies out there. Read up on it, right? The reward centers, I think that's what you're talking about, Jennifer. We're finding shopping, sex, alcohol, drugs, gambling, and perhaps the internet, like you said, those studies aren't in. We know that those dopaminergic pathways, pathways with dopamine, all the neurotransmitters feeding that pleasure center, that reward center, are becoming pronounced. I mean, who knows? The brain might start to rearrange itself based on this one thing you're talking about. It's pretty interesting stuff. Yeah. So that said, we are interested in getting things done. We're interested in our to-do list. And you point out, even with your own success, right, the discrepancy between, okay, here's the way it's been, here's the way we're doing things, but here's what else is possible. This sort of spiral way to be in relationship with doing. This is what you've come across. This is what you're sharing with us. This is what you're finding freedom in yourself and what you're trying to teach us, right?
Yes, and it's, I'm in a time of greater integrity to give this interview because I'm doing more of my own practices. There's certainly weeks and months and probably years since I've been working with these ideas when that's not true. When I get addicted to dizziness, or I really want to say this for everybody listening that you were talking about at the beginning of the hour, which are people having a hard time. It's much harder to listen, to relax, and to follow our desires when life is really pressuring us. We really got to give ourselves a break. This is something for when our ducks are kind of in order. They're never all going to be. If we wait for that, then we're going to be on our deathbed going, oh wait, wow, now I have time.
We know we have ducks. That's good, right? That we know where some of them are, or at least in general, that's having your ducks in a row, because holding on too tight is not the answer here. We're not looking for that. And Jennifer Loudon is joining us, the Life Organizer, A Woman's Guide to a Mindful Year. That's what we're talking about here on Marianne Live. We're so glad you joined us. Jennifer's talking about how she came forward in her own life, or the idea came forward, hey, I'm not interested so much in being addicted to doing, and I'm going to undo that and look for another way to be in relationship. She talks about these 5 unique and effective steps that we're going to talk about this hour: connect, feel, inquire, allow, and apply. The sort of feminine way that we approach doing. Talk about a little bit, before we get to that, how you set your book up, because I love it. I said at the beginning of the program, I could just open it, which I did, and turn right to something that knocked my lights out. It was like, oh my God, this is so perfect for me right now. I love it that you set the book up like this. Talk a little bit about that, would you?
Well, we're talking about organizing our lives from our dreams and desires and from listening more to what we already know, to our intuition. I don't think that we don't want to completely privilege that. We need facts and research and outside guidance, but we also need that inside guidance. We need to bring the two together. So a rigid system for the book just wouldn't make sense. I needed a way that you could interact with it depending on who you are and also what time in your life you're working with the book. I mean, some people have been working with these ideas, for 10, 12 years, and they might find that following along week by week, they're not dated. It's just, you can start wherever you want. Really works well for the planner part of the book. Other people never want to do that, and so I had to set up the book so it would really work with who you are, where you are, so you can listen to yourself. Otherwise, it would defeat the purpose of the book, the theme of the book.
It's beautiful, because when I opened it, I felt like I had permission not to start at the end. Sometimes the rebellious parts of me, because I've actually probably read a couple of thousand books, given what I do and so on and so forth. And sometimes the rebel in me wants to start at the last page or the middle, or just because I can, and it gives me this sense of satisfaction. With your book, it was actually like, yay, you gave me permission to do that, and it gave me this real sense of joy, actually, for a fleeting moment. Isn't that silly?
No, it's not silly. We have to work with that resistance. It's when we all have resistance to, quote marks in the air, doing the right thing. And we don't have a lot of insight from a research basis why that happens. But one thing we do know from a Buddhist battling it or fighting it, it's much more likely to not stop us or to stop us less of the time. And so, again, one of the ideas behind this book is to help us not be stopped by what I call shadow comforts and time monsters in the book. You can think of them as things that drain you or don't really replenish you or keep you away from your dreams. So anything that can melt the resistance or make room for it or help us recognize there already is room for it, that we don't have to be a battle with it.
Yeah.
It's super useful.
Beautiful.
Doing more of what we want in our lives and having more of the life that we desire.
Yeah, we're going to go to break right now, and I'm going to tell you a secret story for those of you who are streaming live with us behind the scenes. Jennifer Loudon and I are going to get personal on Marianne Live. The Life Organizer, A Woman's Guide to a Mindful Year was what we're talking about. Get a copy. It's available wherever fine books are sold. And we're giving one away here on Marianne Live. We'll come back with a question so you can get maybe your free copy right here. Don't touch that dial. Back in just a minute. All right. Thank you, Jay. All right. Go ahead, Jennifer. Hey.
That was fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I just love the dance of playing with creativity and people who are so devoted to their work. And I'll tell you, this book is fun. That's a perfect word. So interestingly, speaking of the things we do to try to avoid looking at our dreams or our desires, right? I have an injury. I hurt my calf, and I was teaching a class that I love so much. I love my work. I love what I teach, but I'm introducing a new body of work in my life. And it was so interesting because I hurt myself in front of my students and then had to teach the rest of the class. It was very dramatic and really yucky and all that stuff. But the interesting bit was, and I'd love for you to speak to this, the monsters you talked about, the work monsters or the shadow comforts or those parts of ourselves, I'm interested in those. But I'm also interested in the part of the mind, like my mind said, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, see? This is a sign. We're very superstitious when it comes to our dreams and our desires. We have all these stories, all this mythology wrapped up around that. Can you talk a little bit about that? I think that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I believe that it's all about the growth mindset that Carol Dweck's work, among other people, and that it's about, we're not indoctrinated into that. Our traditional teaching systems teach us to be safe, get it done fast, make it look easy. If you have any struggle at all, it's not meant to be, you're not smart enough. And then the New Age coaching community has laid a whole bunch of other shit on top of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, I just wrote a blog post about that when I was learning. I'm writing a book right now or something that may become a book, and I'm really learning. I'm writing about some past-ish stuff that I did and really looking at the ways that I told myself I couldn't and that I kind of quit.
Yeah, right.
Projects because it wasn't happening so easeful and blissful, and it's like, oh my God, what bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to go back and talk some more about those. I'm writing a book called The Lies We Tell Ourselves.
I love it.
Super fun. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Marianne Live. I'm Marianne Camarado. So glad you are with us. You want to organize your life on this show in the next half an hour? You've come to the right place. Jennifer Loudon's with us. She's written a book, lucky for you, called The Life Organizer, A Woman's Guide to a Mindful Year. Jennifer and I were talking during the break about the other things that get in the way. Life itself, the idea that we have to be driven and meeting goals, and we don't exactly know why, although there's a lot of research. But there's also the sort of the shadowy bits, the monsters, the yip-yap inside of our head that gets in the way. And I know a lot of, Jennifer, what you're devoted to in your book actually talks some about this, some of those obstacles that get in the way. So let's start there as it relates to the book for this section, for this part of the program. What are some of the things that we stumble along with or maybe thwarted by that are pretty common for folks, and how your book can help us sort of get around those obstacles?
Probably two of the most helpful ideas that I've ever shared. And Brene Brown is a friend, and she loves them so much that she quoted them in her last book, Daring Greatly, and taught them on her course that she's created with Oprah. And that's the shadow comforts and time monsters I mentioned in the first segment. Let me tell you what they are. Shadow comforts are the things that we do that actually make us feel worse about ourselves or drain us or numb us instead of the things that would really recharge us. And I want to be really clear. It's not what we do, it's why we do it. So I can eat a piece of my mother-in-law's cherry pie, and it can be so much fun and so delicious and time with family, or I can eat a piece of my mother-in-law's cherry pie without even tasting it because I'm anxious and want to get rid of that anxiety. Maybe I'm anxious about writing or being on the radio or whatever. Time monsters are a little bit different in that they're the things that we do. They're often things we need to do, but we do them obsessively, with perfectionism, or before what we really want to do that is risky, that would take us towards our dreams. So email is a perfect example. Spending 3 days designing the flyer for your kid's carnival instead Illustrator instead of say an hour.
Right.
You're sitting down to do your creative work or build your business or, learn the language that you're learning, and suddenly you find yourself on the phone with not your favorite person, but one of those draining friends that you really don't want to stay in contact with anyway. Those are examples of time monsters. We all have shadow comforts and time monsters. The book isn't going to make them go away, but it's going to give you a lot of tools and a lot of reminders to help you go, oh, there I am, doing that thing. I wonder what triggered it. What am I looking for in this? What am I hoping to get out of this pie that I'm wolfing down? Or this 3rd or 4th or 5th episode of CSI, Scandal, whatever your poison is. Reading, romance novel after romance novel instead of maybe challenging yourself with some of those other books you wanted to try. Why am I reaching for this? Not to try to change it or make it wrong or make it go away, but just to be curious. And then we begin to ask ourselves, well, is there something I want instead? Is there something I'm really hungry for? Is there something I really desire? The big theme in the book, and my related course, and I have a free app that goes with the book, is by listening to our desires, beginning to honor them. That's very scary for us. But it's one of the really great ways out of time monsters and shadow comforts. It's pretty foolproof.
Beautiful. And it sounds like, listening, turning our attention inwards, being internally referenced is a cultural, it's not intuitive to our culture. We, as social creatures, are really conditioned, biologically and otherwise, to be aware of what's happening out there. And this shift that's happening, I think, in the Western world is a big one. Turning our attention in, listening is what I'm hearing you say, right? And I want to read a story out of your book that illustrates what you're talking about, I think, really well. On page 144, there's a story where Melissa D., her deep breath, she said she remembers a moment, I wasn't on a yoga retreat or writing in my journal as I watched the waves roll in. I was in a small New York apartment in Times Square on the navy blue futon my boyfriend and I had recently purchased, etc. She gets down here, she says that she was sharing with a friend how she had this unbelievable life, how madly in love I was with my wonderful boyfriend, how I loved the energy of living in this amazing city, how excited I was about my fantastic promotion, how inspired I was about this new aerobics class I was taking, what a wonderful, amazing, exciting, fantastic, unbelievably inspiring life it was. And then her friend said, God, you make me feel so tired. You're such a perfectionist with everything. This was not the reaction I was supposed to be getting, said Melissa, right? She was supposed to admire me, be envious of my wonderful life in New York, be inspired and acknowledge me for everything I've accomplished. I felt my heart grow heavy. She said tears came to her eyes and she realized that she was performing in a play that she didn't even write, that she was doing all the things that made up a perfect, fulfilling, and wonderful life, yet didn't feel fulfilled or happy. So right in here, I think there's a lot of our listeners who so relate to that. We get so swept away with look at this and look at that and blah, blah, but we can't feel our life. We can't hear our desires. That's what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. And we get so attached to our plan or our picture. I can feel it when I do it often in my jaw. My jaw gets really tight, and I get very into checking things off my list.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll go put something on the list that wasn't there. That
Totally do that. It like gives you a dopamine rush right there.
Yeah.
Or something you already did.
Yeah. Or, or I'll go and check it off before I'm halfway doing it. Like, oh, I'm almost done. So those become signs for
Yeah.
me. And there's a thread of this in the book. They become the signs that I have written down in my own life organizer. And the life organizer kind of prompts me as the questions spiral through, the mindful questions, to go, what are the signs that I'm getting out of balance? Or what are the signs that I'm really getting addicted to my way, the way it's supposed to look? And all the wisdom traditions tell us that that's not how life happens.
Yeah. So the signs, right? I was talking earlier during the break, behind the scenes on Marian Live. We're streaming live. If you didn't know that, you can watch and listen. I was talking about how, I hurt myself and I wasn't listening. I was listening to a boogeyman in my head, but I also wasn't listening to the part of me that was saying, slow down. So sometimes we somatize that stuff, right? Our body starts talking to us and gets really loud, and then we get super mad, and if we're not paying attention, it gets even louder. It's not the only way we get our attention, but what what I'm hearing you say is, really tuning in, really listening, not just to the signs with our body, but all the signs. What are you hearing? What are you needing to pay attention to, especially during this Mercury retrograde time? For those of you who love astrology, what pattern is showing up again and again and again? Well, come back and join us, and we will help you organize your life. The Life Organizer is Jennifer Loudon's book, A Woman's Guide to a Mindful You, right here on Marian Live. Join us behind the scenes, and we'll be back right after these messages.
All right.
Thank you, Jay.
Back in 3 minutes.
Perfect. I wanted to show this video of my cat again, but you can't see it. So what I'll do is I'm going to play a little Snot Numb Car for people behind the scenes, because you know why? Jennifer loves Snot Numb Car, and you can probably listen along for those of you who are fans. Here we go. Oh, let me start at the beginning, though, because it's worth it, isn't it? Oh, my beloved. All right, everybody. If you don't know who this is, Snot Numb Car is somebody we love. Jennifer Loudon loves her. SNATAM, capital KAUR. Check her out online. She's a big fan. Apparently, some of us do yoga every morning and listen to Snot Numb Car. Let's talk a little bit about that. That's pretty amazing. I love that you do that. Yeah. Why Snot Numb? Where'd you find out about her?
Oh, you go to somebody's yoga class and they're playing her, and you're like, oh, I love that. I actually do know where I really made the effort to find out who she was. I teach a writing retreat in Taos every year, and my friend who has been the guest yoga teacher for the last couple of years played one of her songs. And then my dear sweet husband and I went to Bali this year, and our Italian yoga teacher played another song of hers, and it made me go, I really need to get this music, and so it was perfect for my playlist.
I'm so glad.
At home.
Yeah, I love spreading the word. I can't even remember. I think it was the same for me in a dance class about, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. Yeah, I love passing it along. So part of organizing your life, Jennifer Loudon is here with us on Marian Live, is about finding that
Okay, we're about to return.
Thanks. Finding those experiences you love, incorporating them into your life. Like listening to Marianne Loud and Jennifer Loudon talk about organizing your life right here on Marianne Live. Welcome back, everybody. We are behind the scenes on the break listening to some Snot Nom Carr. For those of you who love some good music, check her out. She's got some very soulful grooves for you. So, yeah, Jennifer, we were talking a little bit about the things that we want to pay attention to that are asking for our attention, right? Listening, the patterns, the desires, the dreams, and the stuff that gets in the way, the shadow comforts you talk about, and the time monsters that you share with Brené Brown, who's a friend of yours. I got to ask, how did you love being on Oprah's show?
Actually, it was quite a not great experience for me. It was many, many years ago, and it took me a very long time to understand why it wasn't a great experience. I remember walking off the show just so sad, really, depressed, down, defeated. And it really took me a few years. I gave a talk about this last week in Seattle to realize that I was fully expecting Oprah to look at me or being on Oprah to say to me, "You're enough. Your work is enough." And I want to say that was my fourth book that I was on Oprah for. I had already sold hundreds of thousands of copies of books. I'd been a bestseller in the U.S. and in Germany, and I hadn't learned yet how to tell myself what are my standards of enoughness, what are my benchmarks, really dependent only on me, not on anybody else's approval and not on any kind of sales records or any of the other things that we look for. And so the experience for me was quite a turning point, but it took a long time to understand it.
That's powerful, and really, speaking of vulnerability, thank you for sharing that with us, that true story, because, yeah, that's one of those moments where we think that, wow, I can check that off my bucket list, and I've arrived, and there is no there. I mean, I think that's so part of the feeling you were describing early in the program, that, wow, I'm at this place in my life, and things are shifting and changing, and things are not what they told me they were going to be. They're not like in the movies, right? Yeah. Happily Ever After is not a place, damn it.
It's not. And unless we learn to declare what is enough for us and celebrate it, even if we don't feel like celebrating when we reach it, and do that in a daily way, life truly empties out. And it's a really powerful way to get addicted to what we were talking about earlier in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the antidote for that addiction is the Life Organizer, which you are sharing with us, A Woman's Guide to a Mindful Year. Here's the thing, whether you want to organize your life in the moment, you say, or take a longer viewpoint of your day, a week, a month, or an ongoing life organization, your book, Life Organizing, will help you with these 5 unique and effective steps. Let's talk about these. I mentioned them earlier in the program. Connect, feel, inquire, allow, and apply.
They take longer to describe than they do to do. I wish that I could have shortened them somehow or, made it clearer in the book, but I can make it clearer now. The first step is to connect with your life force. We live in a time when we're often not in our bodies. We're in our screens, or we're off in front of us when we're driving cars. So just take a breath or stretch or go to the bathroom or feel the seat under your butt. Just feel the fact that you're here in the body. Notice that. You can make it a little bit longer if you want, or just take a breath, like we did at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And then number 2 is feel. This is based on the research behind HeartMath and neurocardiology, which is that we have 40,000 plus neurons scattered throughout our heart muscle. And the research is showing that by tuning into a positive emotion and tuning into the physical presence of our heart, in as little as a few breaths, short of a minute or under, we can really lower our stress hormones and kind of open up our intuition, our empathy, and our creativity through the basically the electrical information that goes from our heart brain up to our cranium brain. And the way to do that is to inquire. The book is full of these things I call mindful questions. We're asking ourselves questions all the time. They're just not usually very helpful. Am I going to get this done in time? Am I going to be late? Do I look fat in this? What if I fail? And how about a mindful question? What do I really want right now when you're standing in front of the refrigerator? What's most important right now when you're in a meeting and everybody wants a piece of you? What does my body need right now when you're feeling exhausted or strung out? And then the last two ones are simply allow. Like, allow something to occur to you. Allow an image, a feeling, even just a sense of letting go. And then if something does clearly occur to you, take a little action on it. If you think about calling your sister and you can't do it right that second, you make a clear agreement with yourself to do it on the ride home from work or on Saturday. Take action. Without action, we all know, nothing changes, but then we forget why nothing changes because we forgot we didn't take action.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's it. And the idea of this process is to use it whenever you're up against shadow comforts and time monsters and feeling trapped, whenever you have a bunch of choices and you don't know what to choose, whenever you have free time and you don't feel like you deserve, air quotes, to nurture yourself. Friday nights when you come home from work, you can use it with your kids, your family, when you're trying to decide what to do with your summer vacation. Anytime you're feeling pushed or pulled or stressed or slimed by life.
Yeah, well, I love these 5 steps, by the way. They really are so straightforward and a really good practice to have in general. You know, we turning our attention inward, connecting to ourselves, feeling our feelings. I love to blame the French Renaissance for this, that we weren't really allowed to feel our feelings because it wasn't appropriate, but we are designed to feel optimally, to feel what we're feeling and drop in on the deeper level, right? And inquire. Self-inquiry is a practice, allowing something else to come forward. What else is true? That's a really great question. And to apply, take some action. It doesn't have to be perfect. It probably won't be.
No, it is so perfect.
Right?
Oh, it's so boring. Why do we even care?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Why do we care? These are good questions to ask ourselves, and having the daily practices, I'm a big fan of. Have a practice. Find one, have one, use it, and watch your life change. Hey, Jennifer, talk about how you've got like 5 ways we can approach using the book. Like what I did, I just sort of opened it and I said, oh, this is what I need to know right now. And I read that gal story. It was so appropriate for me, based on some personal things that are here for me. What are the other ways, aside from using this sort of random, pulling a divination card, opening, like that? What are the other ways you invite us to use?
There's the main part of the book is called The Life Planner, and it's actually 52 weeks or sets of questions. They are undated. And those questions, you could write those questions and answer a phrase, a word, image that comes with those. And you can actually print out the questions at my website, jenniferlouden.com/life-organizer, if you don't want to write in the book, but there is room to write in the book.
Great.
There's also a section called the Mood Changer. You can flip to that, and it gives you moods that you might be in and page numbers to go to where you might find a story or a question or an exercise.
Perfect. All right, we're going to go to break. You will find those available on Marianne Live. For more information, or go to jenniferlouden.com. Get a copy of your new planner, right? The Life Organizer, A Woman's Guide to a Mindful Year, right here on Marianne Live, or wherever fine books are sold. Back in just a minute. We'll be streaming live behind the scenes. Join us.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Jay. And I told those of you tuning in I was going to talk a little bit about horses. And that's because I love working with horses. And the giveaway question, we've got 2 books for you. We've got Jennifer's book, for those of you who are joining us, The Life Organizer, A Woman's Guide to a Mindful Year by Jennifer Louden. And Wendy Aronson's written a great book called Refeathering the Empty Nest. We can make that available for you. If you are the first to answer, we've got 2 books, 2 separate folks. First to answer, what is the name of my new workshop? I've got a title of my new workshop. You can find it on Marianne Live. First person to send that to us, we will get these books out to you. All you have to do is pay for shipping and handling. Happy to send them to you. And the clue is horses. There you go. I love me some horses. Guides to the Soul, the shamanic journey inwards. It's wonderful to work with horses. I'm so enjoying it. Okay, Jennifer, all right, we're behind the scenes. Let me ask you something. You're in a relationship. You just got married last August. Wow.
I know.
You're gushing still. This is good. Tell us a little bit about your man.
He is great. He works in large-scale conservation, so he works a lot with the big issues of climate change and farm bill and things that sound maybe a little, I don't know, dry that are actually really fascinating. And he works in the Great Plains, even though we live in Washington State. He's a devoted tennis player. He's a fantastic dad of his son, who's 17, my stepson, Aiden. And I think he's probably just the nicest guy. He's just all about doing the right thing. And we're always trying to teach him to ask for what he wants a little bit more. Beautiful.
I love it. I love that. Really a cheerleader for the nice guys. Cause
he is, and he's a good man.
Yeah.
He did a project in Mongolia a few years ago, and they did a side trip to a place called Goodman Mountain, and that was really was a special place for him. I thought, that's where you belong, Goodman Mountain.
All right.
Thank you for our last eat.
Thank you. Goodman Mountain. Where the good men are born. All right, everybody, welcome back to Marianne Live. I'm Marianne Camarado. Joining us today, Jennifer Loudon. She's written a new book for you, The Life Organizer, A Woman's Guide to a Mindful Year. I know we like to check off our boxes, and our lives are steered by what is on our to-do list. But Jennifer's got another invitation for you. Perhaps the spiral route might work for you. Jennifer, you have shared with us how to approach the book, what inspired you to write the book, the 5 unique and effective steps to help organize our life in the moment. Let me ask you a question here about, I know this is sort of off the wall. We were talking about relationships. I just have to come out and ask you, I'm thinking you might need to write a book about it, actually, now that I think about it. Oftentimes people feel like they need to schedule relationship time into their life. And you were just talking during the break about your recent nuptials last August to your man, your wonderful man. Scheduling time for a relationship, doesn't that even sound weird? It just sounds wrong, doesn't it?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I have, friends who still have young children, who are younger than I am, or had children later, and if they didn't make a time for date night, it would just fall away, especially because we go back to the idea of shadow compass and time monsters, and being intimate and the desire that most of us have to have a rich, intimate relationship is very scary. It's scarier than writing. It's scarier than creating. It's scarier than building a business by a long shot. So I think we can really fall into ruts and ways to avoid each other. However, if then we make it just another thing on our to-do list. Okay, great. We went on date night. Check it off. I don't have to look at you for the rest of the week. That doesn't work so well.
Yeah. How are guys different in your experience with time management and as it relates to relationships as well? Different than women? Given this book you sort of wrote for women, not sort of, you actually did.
Right. Well, I did write it for women because we have a set of concerns that I don't see as many men having, which is a lot of guilt around pursuing our own dreams and a lot of confusion and guilt around self-care. I do see younger men having more of that, but in general, like the guys in our neighborhood, if it's Friday night and they all want to go have a drink at the pub a block away, they may make a joke about the ball and chain or something, not wanting them to go, but they're going to go have a beer together and enjoy that time, and they're not going to feel guilty about it. Women have a harder time with that. I think men's approach to time management reflects that. They're much more likely to take the time that they need and have a sense of agency about going for their desires and dreams.
Right. As we come up to the time, that's a really great answer, by the way. That they have a different set of concerns, and those are changing as the roles are changing, and people are wondering what is happening, scrambling around, looking for role models these days. As we come up to the top of the hour, you've got this question that your publicist sent out, this material that was sent out, that we get to review for those of us who are interviewers. And I look over the questions, but there was one question in there that I really liked. This idea that those of us in the self-help industry are peddling ideas that really are sort of anecdotal and not really a long-term answer. And I just don't feel that when I'm looking through your work, reading it, talking with you. It feels real to me. Talk a little bit about that, because that's a real rub for somebody doing the work that you do. And our listeners love to hear this kind of conversation, because, you know, there's only so many kinds of positive sort of thoughts and thinking that you can take in, that you can sort of stand, really, you know?
and research is showing, and again, you know, not that this has been extensively researched, because it hasn't, that affirmations can actually backfire, because if we repeat them to ourselves and we don't believe them, they actually reinforce a sense of being a failure or being inadequate. To me, I don't think that all self-help or spirituality needs to be research-based. That's absurd. But what I find, especially since the birth of the Internet, is that people are very likely, more likely, kind of likely, I'm not sure which one I believe, to take their own experience, their case study of one, and speak about it and teach about it as if it was true for everyone, and to forget to regularly remind people. And I've done that in my books all along. Hey, try this. Hey, this works for so-and-so. Hey, I did this little piece of totally non-scientific research. Hey, this worked for me. And I think that people try things on and they don't work for them, or they're missing the pieces that they need, like a daily practice that you mentioned, and many other things. And then they think of themselves as failures and they give up.
Yeah, that's
and
really
especially
beautiful.
see this with, of course, younger people. I mean, usually we get into our 40s and our 50s and we're a little bit wiser and like, wow, no, I have to suss this out for myself. I have to test drive this for myself.
Yeah, I think that's a great bit of advice for anybody navigating the onslaught of material available. And I talked about that recently on another program. You know, one of my professors is a neuropsychologist, and he always takes care to point out how just certain parts of the brain, for example, that have been discovered, one person has devoted their entire life to a tiny little bit of area of research, right? Hundreds, maybe you know, tens of thousands of hours, which makes them an expert at this one little thing. And we forget that reading something or recapitulating it doesn't make us an expert. It makes us an investigator. It makes us someone trying something on. A really important distinction, right? And being mindful of that, I think, is important. And we love that you do that, Jennifer. And you have been bringing us important, really important, tried and true information, and a lot of your own experience. And the alchemy of that has been changing lives for a long time. And we're so grateful that you keep doing what you do.
Oh, gosh, well, thank you. Just, you know, I'm out here stumbling along.
Yeah.
And I like to talk about it.
Yeah, I got that. Well, we're coming up to the top of the hour. What do we want to leave folks with, Jennifer?
You know, this idea of organizing your life, it's great to have beautiful little bins to put your stuff in and do decluttering and have a great Google Calendar and dates with your spouse, your partner. Those are all wonderful tools, but don't neglect, include, weave in time to listen, to inquire from your own wisdom, to trust that and make that part, not the entire, but part of what guides your life.
Beautiful. Great advice, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, Jennifer. What's your next book? What are you writing?
Well, I'm writing personal stories right now that I think are going to become a book about what do we do when we need to burn down a barn, we need to change something in our lives. And it was started by that haiku, barn burned down, now I can see the moon.
Wow.
So right now I'm just writing very rambling, terribly written, crappy personal stories and trying to find the theme of the book.
That's awesome. I love even listening into that, you know, your creative process. That's such a messy process, isn't it?
Yep, it sure is.
All right. Are you teaching anything anywhere coming up anytime soon?
My Taos workshops are full, and then in the fall I'm going to do another course based on this book, and really like it's kind of all my self-help work, all this whole themes that we've been talking about, so shadow companies and time monsters and listening to ourselves, and that'll be an online course that will start in the sometime in September.
Beautiful. Go to jenniferloudon.com for more information. Jennifer, great to have you with us on Marianne Live. Yeah, thank you, and some snot nom car to you, from my heart to yours. I'll think of you now when I listen to her, and please come back and join us anytime.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, sit tight. We're going to break. We'll be back for our wrap right here on Marianne Live. Don't touch that dial. Okay.